Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back. This is the Roger Stone Show, and now one of my favorite guests, Brigitte Gabriel. She's a survivor herself of terrorism, the founder and chairman of Act for America. Her story is a quintessential example of a 21st American story regarding the American dream. She's literally the epitome of how one's adversity becomes strength. She has captivated audiences across the country with her often inspiring and courageous life story about human triumph despite all the odds. She has a passion and vigor for telling the truth, and this comes, I think, from her incredible experience during the opening of the war in Lebanon. She offers an incredible account of remarkable upbringing. At 10 years old, she survived a barrage of rockets exploding in her home, leaving her wounded and buried under the rubble. Brigitte and her family spent the next 7 years in an 8x10 underground bomb shelter fighting to survive. She crawled under the bombs, digging for vegetation to eat, crawling under snipers' bullets to a nearby spring for water. She risked sexual violations in the constant barrage of exploding artillery. This is an incredible story of persistence and resilience of a strong woman who has now emerged as an extraordinary spokeswoman for common sense and, yes, freedom. Brigitte Gabriel moved to Israel in 1984, became a news anchor for World News, a prominent Arabic news broadcast across the Middle East. You've seen her on TV as she has interviewed world leaders like Margaret Thatcher, George H.W. Bush, and many others. I like to have her on because she is fiercely articulate and completely committed to freedom and the human spirit. She always has a message of hope that helps to strengthen and inspire our listeners. I am so happy to welcome Brigitte Gabriel to the show.
Thank you, my friend. Delighted to be with you.
You know, when I need a dose of reality, I go to your feed on X, where you are, I must say, always pungent. And it's funny. I was taken by surprise by the rapid takedown of the Assad regime in Syria. And I saw some people celebrating this because Assad, no one claims he was a good guy, by the way. But I said, you know, this is going to work out about as well as the U.S. takedown of Gaddafi in Libya. And then I saw that you had pinned a terrific analysis in which you said, don't get all excited about Assad getting toppled in Syria. There's now an even more dangerous combination of ISIS and Al-Qaeda running that country. Lay this out for us because you did so extremely well.
I thank you, Roger. Exactly. What's transpiring in the Middle East is troubling. As bad as Assad was, what we are dealing with now is even worse. And I know the world is excited, just like they got excited when the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt. Remember, everybody called it the Arab Spring. Everybody was so excited. Well, we saw within a year what the Muslim Brotherhood did in Egypt, and that's when Sisi did the coup and took back the country. And that's why we see a more stable Egypt right now. But in Syria, the problem with Syria is this guy who took over And the reason why they moved so fast was because they knew that Bashar al-Assad was weakened. And he was weakened because of the bombardment of Israel, the destruction of Hezbollah, the bombing of Iran, and basically Iran and Hezbollah propped them up. Putin is distracted with the war with Ukraine, so they knew no one is coming to save Bashar al-Assad. And that's why they moved in so fast. But the reason they were so organized when they moved in so fast is because Giuliani is such a lethal, very dangerous, trained terrorist with experience on the ground. Giuliani was the head of al-Qaeda. This is the guy who's now the new leader of Syria. Was the head of al-Qaeda in Iraq. He was appointed by al-Zawahiri. We arrested him in Iraq in 2006 and threw him in jail. That's where he met Baghdadi, who was the head and founder of ISIS. They hit it off. They became great friends. When he was released from jail in 2011, Giuliani goes to Syria to establish an Islamic presence in Syria, an Islamic movement. And so when al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, was released out of our jail and went to establish ISIS in Syria, Giuliani realized, well, you know what? I only want a caliphate in Syria. I don't want a global caliphate like what ISIS wanted. So therefore, he decided, I'll do my own thing. I'll just pledge my allegiance to al-Qaeda. I'll work with the local al-Qaeda. Well, al-Qaeda didn't do much to help him by 2016. So he decided, I'll start my own group. And he did. And his group created their own government. They had a speaker of parliament. They had their own court. And so he was very well established. But he was smart enough watching what's happening in Ukraine and watching Zelensky with a military suit and the West giving him millions of dollars. And so Giuliani decided, I'm going to ditch the turban. I'm going to ditch the abaya. I'm going to put in a military suit so I can at least gain the respect of the gullible West. And that's why he changed his appearance. And that's what we have now in Syria.
It is frightening because, look, you can see the open slave markets in Libya. I recall the slaughter of literally hundreds and thousands of Christians in Syria. The last time this same band of rogues ran the country. I remember crucifixions of children as young as 5. ISIS was on its last legs under Donald Trump. We have breathed life back into it in our foreign policy. Meanwhile, we somehow think that unfreezing $190 billion for the rogue regime in Iran is somehow going to bring greater stability to the region by building a counterweight to Israel. I mean, this is the thinking of Barack Obama. That's his foreign policy put in place by Joe Biden. I love the fact that you cut right to the facts on this, as you always do. These wildfires in California, something else you've been very vocal on. I must tell you, first of all, we pray for the people there. I can't even imagine the horrific nature of learning that your home and probably virtually everything you own is gone literally in the flash of an eye. What is your thinking here? Because President Trump kind of was prescient about this. He observed some time ago that for the concern over one relatively rare exotic fish, their policies did not allow them to clear brush or to have water necessary for this kind of horrific natural event.
Which is horrific. And like you said, we feel sorry for the people who are hurting. Our heart breaks for them. Families are displaced, and it is heartbreaking. But here's the sad reality. They voted for this leadership. They brought them to power. You know, the Palisades, 72% voted for Kamala Harris. When you look at their mayor, when you look at their fire chief, you know, it's such insanity. You know, the left expects to vote for the same thing and expect different results as if their lives is going to get better. And look what they have just done. And to add insult to injury right now. The California Fire Foundation, the SAVE program, is offering a mere $250 gift card for a severely affected household, which barely covers a night or two at a local hotel, Roger, let alone the weeks or months ahead that needs to rebuild lives. And this pittance is an insult when we consider the state's generosity towards undocumented immigrants. You know, California spends $22,000 annually per undocumented child in education, alongside providing free health care, welfare, housing, to 4.9 million, almost 5 million people at a staggering $179 billion each year.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, this is the Roger Stone Show, and we're talking to Brigitte Gabriel, the founder and chairman of Act for America, and we'll be right back.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Build professional skills this semester with Adobe Creative Cloud and create standout work both in and out of the classroom. Save big on professional creativity tools. Students get 65% off Adobe Creative Cloud, including Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Acrobat Pro, and 20-plus creative apps. No matter what project you're working on, Adobe Creative Cloud apps can help you take it to the next level. Visit adobe.com/student to learn more.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone.
Roger Stone.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group. Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. We're talking to Brigitte Gabriel. Hers is an incredible story of persistence and resilience, surviving war-torn Lebanon and a horrific experience as a child where her family was caught in the throes of war. But emerging today as, I think, one of the very best common sense spokespeople in the country on issues across the board. She is a survivor of terrorism, therefore she understands it, which is why we like having her on the show to talk to us about, issues across the board. President Donald Trump says that if the hostages which are being held are not returned by the time he takes office, all hell will break loose. Joe Biden would like us to forget that there are still American hostages being held in the Middle East. Brigitte, what do you think the president means when he says this?
What makes President Trump so wonderfully amazing is he keeps everyone on their toes guessing. They know he's crazy. Oh, my goodness. God knows what President Trump is going to do. This is how our enemies think about our president, which is a wonderful thing to have because you need them on their toes. You know, they say perception is 50% of victory, and they perceive him as somebody who would literally go into the Middle East and demolish it, turn it into a parking lot. And this is what's going through Hamas's heads right now. They do not know what President Trump is going to do. They definitely know that President Trump has the firepower, has the military strength, and has the determination to basically destroy them until they bring back the hostages. And so this is where the negotiations now come to play. He put his words out. Now, you and I know that President Trump will stand with Israel, and he will do whatever is required to bring the hostages back. Israel knows what needs to be done to bring the hostages back. If Biden would have let Israel do what Israel knows how to do best, the whole war in the Middle East would have been done by December. You know, October 7th happened in October, obviously. By December, the whole thing would have been done. The hostages would have been returned. It would have been over. But because Biden put the shackles around Israel's ankles and prevented Israel from what Israel does best, and that's crushing their enemy, taking out their enemy. That's why Israel took such a long time, and it's still going in Gaza and in Rafah. So right now, Israel does not believe all the hostages are alive. Obviously, we know that most of the hostages are dead. Whoever is alive, Israel is hoping to get them back, but the clock is ticking. And, you know, we may not take direct military action, but we will definitely be a secondary player behind Israel, supporting Israel in whatever Israel feels it needs to do, as in what Benjamin Netanyahu believes needs to be done. And Hamas knows it, Hezbollah and the Lebanese government know it, and all the players in the Middle East know it.
This is why I think Donald Trump was so very successful in terms of foreign policy in his first term, where we had not only had no new wars, but he successfully brought tens of thousands of troops back from the Middle East without the countries they were being pulled out of collapsing into the hands of the enemy upon our departure, because he used the very expensive taxpayer-funded drone technology to keep the Taliban, for example, in Afghanistan pinned down when he was president. Those policies ended under Biden, and there's one lesson of history, which is to say, weakness breeds aggression. They saw our disastrous handling of Afghanistan under Joe Biden, where we had 13 Americans lose their lives, and we literally left behind billions, that's billions with a B, of the most sophisticated military equipment, which, of course, the Afghanis immediately made available to the communist Chinese so they could knock off our technology and compete with us, building these weapons of war. It is that feckless policy that has bred the problems not only between Russia and Ukraine, but also through between Israel and some of its neighbors, including, of course, Iran. Trump understands the value of unpredictability. This is what Nixon used to call the madman theory when he was successfully working to end the war in Vietnam. He would send Dr. Kissinger to the Paris peace talks and say to the North Koreans, look, Nixon, we just don't know. He might be a little crazy. He could nuke you guys. He could nuke you guys if we don't leave here with an agreement. And of course, it worked.
They understood the enemy. This is what I call street smart. And it takes a president with vision. Donald Trump thinks about America as a corporation. How do we grow our corporation? And how do we pay dividends back to the stockholders, which is the American people, to make it better for everybody? Good for him. I love it. And I can tell you, we're going to support him every way in the process. And what I mean by we is my organization, actforamerica.org. I encourage all our listeners, if my message and my voice resonated with you, join me. Go to actforamerica.org. Sign up to get our emails and action alerts. We are the largest a grassroots movement in the United States, and we are standing with President Trump, especially now, to make sure all his nominees are going to get to their positions. We're going to pressure Congress to make sure the process goes so fast, and we're going to stand with this president, especially in the next 2 years. Because let's face it, Roger, you and I know, we only have 2 years, not 4. 2 years to get as much done as we can get done. We're going to be standing with the president and helping him, and we need you by our side. Go to actforamerica.org, become a member, sign up to receive our emails and action alerts, and let's together stand with the president and make a difference for our country.
Okay, all right, there you have it. Brigitte Gabriel, a great nonprofit, Act for America. You got that address. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show. And Brigitte, God bless you and your family.
Thank you, my friend, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.